We are on the little narrow strip of land in Hatteras, North Carolina. Over there is the Pamplico Sound, and of course right on the other side of these sand dunes is the ocean. And by the way, there are places that you can get and you can drive on the ocean. We have made our way over to Hatteras, North Carolina, and we're in a little settlement called Frisco. This huge tree is known as the Cora tree. Some call it the witch tree. The legend says that shortly after the Salem witch trials, a supposed witch and her infant child came to Frisco, North Carolina, and somewhere on this tree is supposed to be her name. Let's see if we can find it. Someone has left some shells for her, but it is a weird tree nonetheless. As the story goes, in the early 1700s, a woman and her baby, whom she never was seen without, arrived in Frisco. She managed to build a crude hut for herself and the child away from the village of Frisco. She was quiet, she didn't socialize, so of course, people think there's something up with that. But people wondered why she needed so much privacy, and the rumors began to circulate, and as you can imagine, her and her child, they said it was a child without a daddy, but who knows. Being a short time after the Salem witch trials, it didn't take long for the rumors of sorcery and witchcraft to become the general consensus among the villagers. After all, she touched a cow and just 3 days later, it dried up and quit producing milk. But then there was that boy that teased her baby, sticking his tongue out at her and twisting his face, and suddenly he became ill, and after that, he almost died. Not to mention, Cora always had an abundance of fish, and the fishermen were certainly not catching any. She had to be a witch. After all the villagers were talking and pointing their fingers, it would have probably been just left alone, but it's the South and the Southern hospitality, and a busted up ship named Susan G arrived. Hatteras is no stranger to the tattered busted ships arriving, of course. That's why they call this the Graveyard of the Atlantic. However, Susan G was boarded by Captain Eli Blood and his crew of ruffians, and we call that pirates. Edward Blood was a longtime native of Salem, Massachusetts, and he pronounced himself a student of all the finest New England traditions and proclaimed himself a witch hunter, which he decreed himself a defender for the people. You know that type, don't you? Immediately set himself up in the middle of town and began hobnobbing and gossiping with all the people. And hey, before you know it, everything was being blamed on Cora, and Cora and her baby disappeared. Oh, it goes on, it gets pretty nasty here. The captain, he gathered up his mob and they went to Cora's wood hut, and they went through the door and they grabbed her and the baby and they took them to the middle of town near the oak tree to perform the first test. He took out a knife and tried to cut her hair, just as he suspected the knife couldn't cut her hair because her hair was stronger than wire rope. Next, he bounded her hands and feet and threw her into sound water. She didn't sink, she floated at the top of water. There was only one test left. The captain took out his ceremonial witch hunting bowl, filled it with water, pricked his finger, letting a drop of blood fall in the bowl. He instructed 3 other men to do the same, and they did. And they stirred the water, mixing it here and there, and they gazed in the bowl with the satisfaction of the outcome, and he instructed other men to do the same, and they saw the face of Cora and Satan. Cora was sealed, as all men agreed they had never seen the same as the good captain had said. With the mob of villagers stunned and all, Captain Blood tried Cora and the baby and took her to the oak tree in the middle of the town. The captain and his men gathered around the branches and tied Cora up, and she was to suffer the fate of all witches. To that day, she was burned alive. Captain Blood lit the torch, setting his course straight towards the dry kindling which some of the local villagers brought. They said that Cora should be taken to the mainland and tried in the proper court. Remember, this is the South. Hospitality we spoke of, well, it doesn't just go for innocent people. It don't go for witches. So no doubt some testified against Cora that their own poor fishing is sunken. Everybody's complaining and blaming this on Cora, who probably just wanted to get away from being up north. That is gonna do it for the story of the Kora tree at the Outer Banks, North Carolina. Hope you've enjoyed this video. Hey, I don't make the stories up. I just tell them the way I read them. Hope you've enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to give us a big old thumbs up. Be sure to share with your family and friends. But until next time, y'all have a good day.